All right, hello OAS family. We just got a quick little video today to talk a little bit about our dancing grass brush. So we're going to feature this brush. It is a combination brush, but it has a unique shape. It's very narrow and long, and it has a long tip. So when we say combination brush, what we mean is that the inner core of the brush has harder, bouncier hairs, and then the outside of the brush has softer, just softer hair. So these two in combination create what we call combination brushes, and that makes them more versatile. But we're going to talk, I'm going to show you a little bit about what the dancing grass brush is good for. I'm going to keep the colors nice and simple today. I'm just using our 8-piece ideal companion set. So given the length of the brush, you can see that the ideal use for the dancing grass brush is turning line strokes. So we can sort of make these turning line strokes with the brush. So if we need to paint vines or any kind of lines that are going to turn, then we can use this brush, and it's really effective because of the tip for these turning line strokes. So if we want to do like a tendril or a vine, we can do that with this brush quite easily. So that is one option, is these turning line strokes. The other thing that this brush is good for is just any kind of line. So if you want to do those fine straight lines that we use for pistils or stamens, it's also very competent, or even whiskers. You can see these sort of straight fine lines. It's also possible with this brush, and you'll enjoy this sort of long tip. It gives a nice, agreeable, pleasurable feeling when you do this. Also, when you choose to do this, these types of strokes with a narrower bodied brush, it helps your moisture control. One thing that's kind of cool for a brush like this is to do this sort of lowering of the boom technique, where we can load the brush from dark to light like we typically do with these strokes, and we blend it a little bit, and then we can just set the pressure of the brush downward like this. And if we do this over and over again, we can get this effect of like trees in the abstract on a landscape. So that's a very nice technique where we're just sort of lowering the brush and then setting it down like this and lowering the boom, and then we can create, as we group the strokes, we can make a little sense of a forest. So the last type of stroke, of course, because it is a narrower brush, you can use it for the type of tapering line strokes that we see in with orchid and bamboo kind of painting. So these tapering lines, it can also do, especially if you want that, you're willing to trade a little bit of versatility for more control. Less likely to have a moisture control problem with a narrower brush like this. But then you can do much fewer strokes, especially these tapering line strokes. Like if you're going to do like a bamboo leaf, they need to be very wet strokes. And so you can see, because of the narrower bodied brush, I'm less likely to have a moisture control problem, but then very quickly I start to run out of moisture. And so it's, instead of 5 or 6 strokes, I probably can get 3 strokes from this brush. And then the strokes themselves are going to be narrower than usual, but you can do these tapering line strokes. Then the last stroke that I'd like to demonstrate is actually using it like a traditional shape brush. So I just tried this the other day, and it's surprisingly good at doing these classic shape brushes that you see in flower painting that we use for petals or leaves. So you can see that I'm getting the brush quite wet. And because the brush is a narrower bodied brush, I don't have to worry about the moisture levels. And I'm gonna do this classic sort of shape stroke with it And you can see that it does make the stroke, and I have less potential problems for moisture control. I'm just using a raw practice paper. I'm using our OAS practice roll here. So the paper is not, it's not double thickness, or there's no sizing. So there's nothing about the paper that's giving me extra moisture control. It's a very honest paper, affordable paper that is helpful for practicing these types of strokes. And so one more time, I'm going to show you this idea of using the dancing grass brush as a shape brush. All right, so we're just going to like set it. Okay, so a couple advantages that I see because the brush is so narrow, easy to control the moisture, and because the brush is so long, I'm also able, with the color loading and blending, to fairly easily get the variation that I want in the stroke. And the tip of the brush actually does some surprising and some clever things. Because it's such a long brush, we can, sometimes the tip will finish in a way that is clever or surprising and spontaneous. So I also like that. There's some unpredictability about it, but not in a way that is undesirable. So one more time before we take off. Okay, so that is our dancing grass brush. You can see we have it here for these turning line strokes. We have these fine line strokes, possibly tapering line strokes, this set the pressure kind of abstract stroke that we might use for trees on a landscape painting, and then also trying to use some shapes with the brush, using the idea of this narrower brush to give us a little bit of a safer brush from a moisture control standpoint, and using it to paint these petal and shape strokes that we use for flower painting. All right, so thanks everybody for watching, and make sure if you want to pick up the dancing grass brush, we have it on our website, and check us out at orientalartsupply.com. All right, talk to you soon. Bye.